What up, what up, what up, everyone? It's your girl, Kimberly Shinivert, here from Northern Virginia.
Hey there, everybody. This is Dr. Nicole in Florida.
Good evening, good evening. It is LaVonda Johnson in Birmingham, Alabama. And boy, oh boy, do we have a show in store tonight. I've been so excited to do this show all week long. So just stay tuned. Coming up next on Serendipity.
I got to find out what is in these white tears. They do so well. We have to find the ingredients for white tears. They work so well.
Oh,
like
God.
white tears.
You gotta call them what? You gotta call them white tears, really?
Man, let me tell you, every time a white person cries, somebody's found not guilty. That was the worst. That was the worst acting I've seen since Stacey Dash. Are you crazy? That was horrible.
When you saw that video, was that your opinion? Like immediately you thought, well, they're gonna let him off.
Of course, because let's be clear. The right doesn't believe that they believe COVID was a hoax, that Sandy Hook never happened, that the January 6th insurrection was tourist. They believe that, all these things are false, but they believe that performance was real. It really says a lot about the low standards you have to reach. We live in a nation right now where a man who knelt is vilified and a man who killed is glorified. It is insane.
How do you think that's going to play with the jury? I mean, they're watching it live in court.
Well, it's 12 white people in jury, 11 white people in jury, right?
Yeah.
Or women, men and women.
Yeah.
I think he looks like their son, their nephew, and their next door neighbor. I think that a white dude crying with a haircut is very sympathetic to any number of people. I think that he is clearly a martyr for the right. And I think that even when he first got arrested, the first thing the chief of police says is, if these people would have been home, this wouldn't happen. Now, if that doesn't have a jaundiced view of this perspective, we have clearly a group of people who believe that whatever you do for your cause is right. And I think that a lot of them sit on the bench and a lot of them sit in juries. They don't exist in a vacuum. They exist and they constantly do things that let you know that they're going to do whatever they can to tip the scales of justice. I think that our system is flawed. I think that you should never see a defendant. I think you should never know. All you need to know is because I think we're prejudiced and biased. And those things, and defense attorneys, to your point earlier, know to play on those things. They know what strengths to pull. And so if a crime is a crime, why do I need to see the person that did it to know, to assess whether there's guilt or innocence?
People are presumed innocent, at least they're supposed to be,
but that's
in
the
a
whole
trial.
point is that
But if they're presumed innocent, why would you treat them otherwise? Because when you see them, you're going to be biased.
It's not treating them otherwise. It's neutral. It's actually neutral. The fact is the jury system was set up to get certain results anyway. It was always prejudiced against people of color. It was always set up to be that way. Presumption of innocence is never how we've been treated. Ultimately, it is this. I think that there are not enough principled, powerful white dudes in positions to hang our judicial system on it. They're just not. There are not enough people who say, this is wrong, I'm going to do the right thing regardless. There are not enough of them. You can tell by what's happening with the insurrection here. You can tell by what happens in governance. You can tell there are not enough principled white dudes, powerful white dudes who are going, regardless of how this works out for me personally or my ideology, I'm going to do the right thing. And our system was always based on principled white guys doing the right thing. And you see more and more that is as absent as the idea of justice in America. It's crazy to me.
Wow. Well, first of all, let me just say, I was not following this trial. I specifically tried to avoid the media coverage on it because it's just so repetitive. The same thing seems to continue to happen over and over again. But after the verdict was publicized, I went, of course, and turned on the news to see what was happening. And they played him crying. And I have to say, I was offended. I could be wrong, but to me, it was just like a whole lot of putting on. And then I thought about all the people who had been harmed by violence, and didn't get the justice that they felt like they deserved. Their families who were crying, real, what I consider to be look like real tears. And this person is getting all this sympathy. I don't feel like as an African American, we've ever been presumed innocent. That's just not how it goes. If something happens and you're in the vicinity, it's like the African American is automatically presumed to be the one who done it. It's like we're presumed guilty off the top, no matter what. You guilty by being black to me. So because when you're pulled over, we talk about all the time how you get pulled over. They're asking you all these questions. Why are you here? Let me see your ID. It's like you have no right to even breathe. Seems like at times as an African American. So first of all, I was just so offended by, to me, the what I looked like to me was to be something to get sympathy out of a jury. It didn't seem like it was authentic to me.
Me personally, I didn't even know what he did. I didn't know who he was or what even happened. So when it was, airing all over, they was playing it in my job in the back office and everything. And when they were airing it, I was like, who is this dude crying all in the what is going on? And for those who didn't know, I guess a quick backstory, he would, and just for me, and you guys jump in because I didn't get all the facts of it. Shame on me. Because like you said, Lavonda, it's like, here we go again. And I honestly thought what he did was he murdered some African American people. And that's not what happened. He murdered white people who were trying to, I guess, loot his family's business. So he called it self-defense against, his family's business. And he get on there crying and snot running all down his nose. And like D.L. Hughley said, he did this whole show, and the jury was like, oh my gosh, he reminds me of my nephew or my neighbor, or that could have been my son, and my son was protecting our business over an issue that was more important than your business. So I was appalled. I was definitely appalled by the whole shenanigans and charades. And truth be told, let that have been flipped. Let that been a black person protecting their business and killed two white people. He would have been hung immediately. And I think that's crazy. I think is crazy. And I agree with D.L. Hughley. Them white tears are real. It's a real thing. What do you think, Dr. Nicole?
Well, I think what D.L. Hughley points out is across the board for our justice system that it's said that, yeah, you're presumed innocent until proven guilty. And that just doesn't play out when you talk about people of color being the ones that are on trial or the ones that are affected as the victims or in the vicinity of anything that happened. So, and I think that was the bigger association, is that it was a demonstration going on related to Black Lives Matter, from what I understand. So, right. So now these people, although non of color, so they're white, they're Caucasian, but they're still being now associated to who are seen as the troublemakers. And so the police officers' response that if these people weren't out here, then this wouldn't have happened. But I don't know if everybody knows the details, but this young man was actually driven across state line with an assault rifle and went to this area. And so, that alone, that happened, and people saw him with the assault rifle, and actually was thrown out as those charges were actually thrown out. Once that happened, you knew he was going to be off. I think that there are other optics that happened during the showing of the trial too, where he is shown hanging over the judge's shoulder, looking at some evidence or whatever. Like, where in the world does that happen? I've never seen that happen before. And so I think D.L. Hughley makes a really, really good point. You are willing to help somebody that looks more like your son, your brother, your father, your uncle. And that's what this boy portrayed, this young man portrayed. And definitely the tears, the white tears. I can't even go there with D.L. Hughley about that. But it's a true point. It is a true point, and it's unfortunate that as he compared what with Colin Kaepernick, here it is, the gentleman kneeled respectfully to make a stand. Strangely enough, that pun is intended, but and he is totally vilified, how he's against the country and what have you. And here it is, we had someone that killed 2 people. And I think I brought this up in a previous conversation that we had, that once you have injustice, inequity, and what have you, even though it's aimed at a certain group of people, because we are all here together, it's going to spill over and affect other people of other types, not just the group that you're against. And so I think that that's something, D.L. Hughley is talking about, the system in general, not even just this singular thing. And I think that that's what we need to stay queued up about. This is not just one event. It shouldn't be ignored because white people were actually the ones that were killed, because it was still in association with people of color, something that people of color thought was important. And so, yeah, jaundiced eyes. I like that term too that DL used, jaundiced eyes. So he used a neutral color, which I like. He used a neutral color to describe that these are not seen. It's not seen how it should be seen. And I like the idea about having the person that's being accused actually not even be shown. Like, why do you have to see them? I agree. I agree. It should be just on the facts, but that's not what happens in the courtroom. And the lawyers do play to that heavily. So, yeah, obviously I got a lot to say about this.
Yeah. I never thought about the reason why people are brought in front of the court when they're accused of a crime. I never thought about it from his perspective that he addressed in this particular video. Yeah, why do we need to see the person? All we need is the evidence, And to go to Kim's point, the fact that the way I understand it of the case is this was not his family's property. He had nothing to do with the property that he was protecting. He was not even a resident of that area, as you said, Dr. Nicole. He crossed state lines. He committed so many crimes before he even got on the scene that we would have went to jail for the rest of our lives for, better less, murdering 2 people. What he did, crossing the line with a weapon that was illegal. I think in the state that he was, either the state he purchased it or the state that he had it, it was illegal in one of those. So he shouldn't have even had it. And then this idea of he felt threatened. You're the one walking down the middle of the street with a rifle. You know what I'm saying? And then they're trying to say that he was defending himself because somebody reached and grabbed it. Well, you walking around with this shotgun in the middle of the street, they felt threatened. If anybody felt threatened, they felt threatened. So, like I said, like you said, we never had that presumption of innocence. And why do we need to show our face? Why does color need to play a role in the justice system? That lets you know right now there's a presumed bias. And for me, it might just be my thought process, but like you said, I think African American men look like my brother, uncle, and cousin, just like white men probably look like their brothers, uncles, and cousins. But for me, I think as African Americans, to me, it seems like we're able to empathize across the board more than other people are. Because to me, we are treated more inhumane. Like, what Black people cry all the time. They literally sat on a man's neck for 8-9 minutes, and a lot of people still saw that and found compassion with the person that was sitting on this man's neck. It blows my mind. So to me, it still seems like there's a lack of empathy for us as African Americans. They treat animals a lot of times, in my opinion, better than they do African Americans.
I agree with what Dr. Shell just said. To go back to what you were saying, Lavonda, how you said, "Oh, we don't need to see you. We just need to see some evidence." But I agree with Dr. Tolliver, where she was saying, I believe constitutionally a defendant has the right to face his accusers. I agree with that. I definitely agree that I need to see your face. And I need you to look me in my face and my family in their face to see what you did to us. So I definitely agree with that. And then as far as going back to, just to piggyback off of you guys, how the system, police were set up to do what? Catch slaves. That's why they was formed, to catch slaves. The system was all based on what? Catch slaves. So, from the beginning, it was never meant for us. But let them tell it, oh, well, we gave y'all the 14th Amendment, so everything's fine. The judicial system is balanced now. The scales are balanced because you guys have the 14th Amendment. Absolutely not. That's not true. That's on a federal level, sure. But each state has their own personal laws, their own, well, we don't have to have this jury to be all in a coalition. We can have 10 white straight men on this jury that's going to charge or give the sentence to, or excuse me, the verdict to this straight white man on the stand. That's not fair. That's not how that should be set up, and I think it's ridiculous. And like T.L. Hughley said, I'm sorry, it's the Lay's chips with white tears. That he
No.
It's great. I keep visualizing that. It's definitely a flavor. Oh, but it's sad that even now here in 2021, we all want justice. I mean, we want the fair trial, the same justice that our white counterparts are getting, but we're not getting it, and it's inhumane, and it's crazy to me. Like I just don't get it. And to be honest, growing up, I didn't think anything of that. Nothing. Like, oh, okay, somebody's getting arrested. Oh, they're guilty, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I'm older and I'm a parent and I have a son, I have a Black son,
Mm-hmm.
it's more apparent that I'm in fear of my children's lives. I'm starting to understand what the system is doing, how it's set up, how I have to teach my kids that the second you step foot out of this house, you're in survival mode. I shouldn't have to do that. I should not have to do that here in 2021, and it's disgusting. I'm about to get emotional thinking about it, but
I'm getting
that's
emotional
just how I
listening.
feel. That is crazy to me.
Yeah, it is a shame what we do have to teach our children and be reminded that it's not only happening to men of color, boys of color, it's happening to women of color as well. And so that's scary just all the way across the board, for sure, that we have to have that conversation with our children and that they can't just trust who's supposed to be there to protect and defend and help. We can't just do that. And haven't you lived that double life of saying, well, sometimes they will if you get a good one, and sometimes, you know what I mean? But we learn these things through seeing, and I think we had some conversation going on in a previous show where um, someone said that they didn't grow up learning color. Well, all of us actually grow up learning color because, and it may not be at home. Maybe your parents were very, colorblind per se. However, most of your world where you spend your time with your friends, your coworkers, and watching TV and what have you, all of those things actually form your bias that you are actually not even aware of. I mean, how many of us now, since everything has happened, a lot of things have happened with Black Lives Matter, actually had white friends actually reach out and say, I don't even know what to do. I am so sorry. I didn't even see that before. I have had people reach out to me so, empathetically, but they don't even know what to do because now they realize like that veil is removed, and now they're lost because they didn't even realize all of that was going on and what we were dealing with and what we are still dealing with. And so definitely being of color and being charged with a crime too, you still could be guilty. Okay, so that doesn't, I think some people go all the way the other way too and say, oh, well, this shouldn't have happened to them. Well, maybe they were guilty, we don't know, but everyone is presumed innocent until proven guilty, or if they're proven guilty, because we shouldn't even say until, because then that's even making a presumption that they are. Even in those words, you know what I mean? So we have to be a little bit more careful about what we do out in society so that then we can push those changes to happen, legislatively. And that means that everybody needs to get out there and vote locally, statewide, and nationwide, right? It can't just be voting for the president. It has to be every step so that the people that you're choosing actually represent what you want to be represented. So I think that, we need to be mindful of that.
Yeah. I also think it's important for us to have these kind of conversations. That's why I'm so excited about this show today, because so many times we don't talk about it. We don't say how we feel, for a long time. Even, in preparation for this show, I was trying to be careful about what I said and how I said it was, because I didn't want to offend anybody. But at the same time, I feel like our voices need to be heard. I feel like we, for a long time, have tried to preface what we say as to not offend people. But in order to speak our truth, we have to be able to be authentic, not in the sense that we're trying to offend anybody, but we have to be able to speak our truth, because you don't know my perspective and I don't know your perspective. And we have to be able to hear each other from both sides and have an open, honest dialogue about it. That's the only way change is going to take place.
I agree. I definitely agree with that. Y'all, my new microphone won't let me live. It won't let me live.
It's too powerful. It's
Yeah.
way too powerful.
It agrees with the topic. That's what's going on. But yeah, I was glad for this too. I was really excited for this conversation. I was a little nervous. Not gonna lie, I was a little nervous because even from the last show, which y'all need to go back and watch the replay of the last show. Even from the last show, the interaction we had with one of our guests, I didn't know how to answer the question because I didn't want to offend anybody. But as Lavonda said, we need to be able to have open-minded conversations because I don't know your perspective. You don't know my perspective. And we need to get that knowledge from each other's perspective to have, like she said, to make a change and to make a change. So yeah, it's deep, and we can talk about this forever.
Oh, forever, ever.
Forever, ever.
So, do you have a question today? Did you?
I don't have a question. Oh, okay. I got one.
You have one?
Okay.
Off the dome, because that's what I do off the dome. What show?
Wait. So what's going to happen if they answer the question?
Oh, same thing. I got a nice little surprise for you all. I'll give somebody lunch tomorrow. That's what I'll do. I'll go ahead and I will cash app you your lunch if you can answer this question. What show did D.L. Hughley host? Give y'all 60 seconds. What show did
I'm glad I can't play.
host? Is that crickets? I don't have no problem keeping my money.
I hear crickets. I hear lots of crickets.
Lots of crickets.
Dr. Tolliver said the D.L. Hughley show. Oh, wait, I got someone on my page who answered the show, who answered correctly.
Oh, what'd they say?
They said Comic View. They are absolutely correct.
Oh,
it's Comic View. Mr. Tyrone Ward, my high school buddy. He won lunch for tomorrow. You send me your cash app, Tyrone. D.L. Hughley hosted Comic View. Absolutely right.
Awesome.
Who said the D.L. Hughley show?
Dr. Tolliver and Mr. Ronald.
And Deacon Ronald. What Pamela Boutte said live at the Apollo. That was not D.L. Hughley.
That's as good a shot as any.
That was a good shot.
That was a
better shot than me.
I was going to say Kings Are Coming because I know he was on there too, but somebody was hosting. I wasn't sure if he was hosting that too.
No, he was one of the.
I knew he was on there, but
that's a movie.
Maybe he hosted it.
That's not a show.
It's not really a movie. It's a
comedy.
I mean, it's themes of the movie, but it's 4 comics on there just doing the stand up.
And it was the best one.
It really was.
Ever.
It was. It was.
So, all right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us here on Serendipity this week. And congratulations to our winner on the question. You are going to get lunch on Miss Shennifer. So definitely stay tuned. Hopefully these topics are good for you. You're enjoying them, loving the tension and the excitement behind them, and the thought. Definitely we need to make sure that we keep making our brains work. So we look forward to seeing you next week. on Serendipity next Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. All right. Have a good night, everyone.
See you next week.
Bye.